Well, good morning, everyone. It's RPW here with the next episode of Talk Dragon Tuesday. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like the Kingdom Wars. I personally love it. If you really don't understand it, maybe that could be part of the reason that your team is having some issues. So be sure to go check out my event guide series on the Kingdom Wars. There are some tips I put out there. There are actually several videos that I do on that, so make sure you watch all of them, because some of them I do update for later changes that they put in this. But one of the big mistakes I see is most people are putting all the resources in the last part of this event. But you guys have to remember, this is victory points per hour. So if you put all your resources in and you collect something up in the last hour, you're only getting those points per that hour. You want to get as much as you can in the beginning. That is the biggest way to win in this event. Now, granted, there are teams out there that have unlimited pockets where they can throw out those megas. I get it. But let's go ahead and jump into this coming event, which is going to be the fortification. Now, remember, there are several things that you need to understand when it comes to the fortification. So if you're new to War Dragons, then please make sure you go check out my fortification event guides, because there are some serious mistakes that a lot of low-level players do during the fortification event, because we really want those points. Do not upgrade something new or make something new just because you need those extra points. Try your best to bounce that lumber off someone so that you can do a larger upgrade versus a few smaller upgrades, for example. It is totally going to be worth it in the end. I know I personally made that mistake because it is so easy to build those points in the fortification as long as you have the ability to build things, but it's much easier to build smaller things. Anyways, if you are new to it, guys, please, again, go check it out. That should start this Wednesday, so get prepared. All right, now let's jump into this past week. The reason I took the week off is because I was flown out to San Francisco, California, to be a part of the War Dragon Summit. Now, I had planned to do a bunch of videos and vlogs and everything, but I've never flown before. So this image right here is actually from my very first flight ever. And it was quite frightening for me, to be honest with you. So my anxiety level was very, very high. And so I wasn't really in my mindset to get prepared for things like videos and vlogging. So I actually don't only have but maybe a few images for everyone. However, I do think War Dragons will be coming out with a whole slew of stuff so that you can see it. I did gather up some pictures, of course. So I've actually put together a slideshow for you guys to kind of give you, a visual while I talk about my trip. But remember, there are some things I can't really talk about. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Now, first of all, as I said before, this was my first flight. So my anxiety was like super, super high. And oh my gosh, guys, seriously, if you haven't flown before, be sure to have someone with you. I was so glad to have my husband there with me. He flies all the time. So knowing that I had someone there to hold my hand, or I'm sorry, for me to clasp his hand and probably, break a few bones, it was some very much needed thing to have. So I want to first of all say thank you to my husband for, escorting me to San Francisco. Now, when we did finally make it, we found ourselves at this beautiful hotel in downtown San Francisco. And not only was it beautiful, but it was in such a great area that you could really find everything. Like, for example, Pocket Gyms was literally a walk down the street. So you could have walked to and from and so forth. So it was really cool. However, there was a lot of noise. There was protesters outside at the time, and that was interesting because it was like whistles and whistles, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was an interesting trip for sure. Nothing boring. So with that being said, I did get to meet up with a teammate. Him and his wife met up with us and showed us around, and we all went out to dinner out on the, I want to say Pier 31, but I don't know what pier it was called. But he actually took us around and showed us some sights. Like, we got to see the Alcatraz from a distance, and we got to see the Fireman Tower and the world's most curvy road, which is in San Francisco. And it was absolutely awesome. And there was, quite a few other things they showed us. But I think the coolest thing is when we went up to the Fireman's Tower, which is this lookout point up at the very, very top of San Francisco. And you can see everything. Now, this tower is actually there to help honor those that died in fires there in California. And it was just a wonderful thing to be able to be a part of and see. Now, the view from there was fantastic. You could see the Bay Bridge, You could see, downtown San Francisco, as you see here. And then, of course, the Golden Gate Bridge. So here's a few little images from that. And, I mean, it was spectacular with all those lights and everything. However, I really didn't have much more juice in me. I've been going all day. I think I'd been up for maybe 20 hours at this point. So I was exhausted and ready to go back to bed. So I was very happy, as you see here, to be like, yes, in my room, ready for some sleep. Now, the next day was a big adventure because that is the day we went to the Pocket Gems building. And I got to meet several players and make a lot of friends. And honestly, guys, it is really cool because you think a lot of these players as these really strong, wanting to take your castle, hit your base, like they're kind of sort of like your enemies or whatever. But in real life, whenever you meet up with everyone, it's not like that at all. And I really want people to understand that, just because we play against each other in the game doesn't mean we have to be enemies in real life. Everybody has a different path, a different idea set for them and their team or their gaming. So it'd be nice to be able to see that divided up. Now, I think that went really well amongst everybody at the actual event. And it was very, very cool because I got personal in my face advice about my team, what I should be doing as a leader, as well as some things for my base and so forth. So it was definitely a really cool thing to be able to meet everyone. And of course, we met a lot of the employees there at War Dragons. Now, most of this discussion was about changes and implements that we would like to see or not see happen in War Dragons. And as you'll notice, there was a 4.8 release note that went out on the forums discussing some of the changes that they actually discussed with us there. So, for example, one of the things was they taught us about the new intro video. So whenever you're a new player in the game, you go in and you see this new, an intro, and it tells you, basically how to get started. But it has this cartoon in the very beginning that you kind of watch, this animation. And they talked about wanting to bring a new one to the world of War Dragons. So I'm really excited. I'm thinking about literally seeing if I can't just jump in there real quick just to see it if they don't share it online. I want to know exactly what this looks like. I think that'd be very cool. So anyways, they are even making these new implemented changes for even the most beginner player. So they really are trying to, make changes that not only affect, the smallest of players, the ones that are just coming in, but they want to also, be able to do some things that will affect even the largest of players that have been with us the longest. Whether you're a big spender or a small spender, they're trying to implement changes that makes things more bearable or more fun and more enjoyable experiences for all the players within War Dragons. And we got to keep that in mind. They don't just have free-to-play customers. They don't have just spendable customers. So they really have to keep this balance there. So they can't say, well, we're going to make everything easy for free-to-play. That way, spenders don't have anything to do. And they can't do it the other way around either. So they're really trying their best to kind of find that balance there, and I very much appreciate it. Now, a lot of the changes that they discussed as possibilities in the future, I really can't go over that with anyone because, well, first of all, they're not even 100% sure, so they don't really want to put anything out there that they do or don't know for sure is going to be implemented. However, there are some things that they brought in here that they talk about in the notes. For example, the new map, which I think when they say map, I think they mean skin, which is basically a new map that they're going to put onto your island and make it look different. But the cool thing is now you're going to be able to go into your settings menu and click to turn that off and go back to your original map settings. So if you don't like the skin, you don't have to utilize it. So that was one of the ones they discussed that, of course, they've put out in the release, which I think is going to be a pretty cool change. That way you can decide. I mean, there's some ways it's like, okay, this skin is better than the original skin because, I need to change. Or some people get very much, like I have one friend, for example, whenever a skin came in, he's like, I don't like the skins because I have certain spells that I utilize whenever I see a certain point on the map hit a certain corner of my screen. So when they put in a new skin, it kind of changes all that up. So there are players out there that aren't really fond of the skins for that reason. So it's pretty cool that you're going to be able to choose whether you want that or not. Another thing is they are going through and trying to fix a lot of bugs. I know that there are a lot of bugs out there, probably some that aren't even in this, but I really do think they're trying to change this. Like, for example, fixed an issue which players appear offline on the battle attack screen but appear online on their profile. Remember back whenever we talked about the fortification event this last round and I was going through all the mistakes people make, blah, 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 blah. That is one of the things I showed you, that whenever you went in to do your attack, there would show you that they were offline, but if you clicked on their information, they would actually still be online. And that's what I was saying. You guys make sure you double check, make sure they're actually offline before you go for it. So that should be fixed, and I think that their expected date for this new release, as of this morning when I checked the forums, was this Wednesday, which would be whenever they do their update. So make sure you update your game this Wednesday, because all of these changes are not going to make it onto your platform if you have not already implemented it. Now, they've also talked a lot of balancing ideas, but I think that's going to be something that we may not see till the next update. You know, some of these changes really take a lot of time. And one of the things they explained to us is, like, when they do one of these big updates like this version 4.8, they have to get a huge packet together describing exactly what the updates are and what is implementing and so forth, and get this sent up to Apple, because they're sending it through the Apple Store. They have to have it approved through Apple themselves. So that's why these changes come in, you know, less frequently. Now, hopefully, according to this information as well, you're also going to find out that your egg token bonuses should be fixed. But if you have any issues, guys, be sure to let them know. Otherwise, if we don't speak up, they're not going to know what's going on out there. Now, one of the cool things that's coming to Atlas is now centralized banks. Now, this is pretty cool, because one of the complaints I actually brought up there was not so much the centralized part of it, but the fact that, you know, whenever someone takes your castle, you just lose all of those resources. You know, there are people out there that spend money, and you put all those resources in there, and nobody's getting these things. So they've created now a centralized banking system, which means all of your resources in Atlas will be managed from a centralized banking system that makes up of all of the banks of all of your castles. Now, players can access gold, food, or even lumber from any of the team's castles. So with that being said, if you have, let's say, you know, one level 1 castle, you'll go to the one castle in order to get your stuff. Now, just like before, any governors, bankers, or officers at any of these castles will be able to go in and access them to be able to distribute them out to anyone. That doesn't mean any player, but anybody within those roles. Now, a tax rate will now be shared amongst all castles. So let's say you are taking advantage of the fact that one castle is set at 100% tax so that you can gather up tax easier. I know our team does that. Then you might find that that's going to be a struggle, because now if you set that one at 100%, then they're all going to be at 100%. So be very careful and be prepared to change that. Now, one of the things you can do to fix that is maybe have like an hours or a day where you're like, okay, from on Saturdays or Mondays or whatever's least busy, from this time to this time, we're going to do 100% tax. I mean, it's up to you. Now, conquering teams, now, whenever you take a castle, you will actually get 10% of whatever's in their resources. So that'll probably stay with that castle just because it is a low-level castle. But the big thing here is, you know, it's not going to go into Never Never Land. It's actually going to go to someone. But that also means you're not going to lose this large amount of resources. However, if you have so many resources in there that you then don't have that bank to cover that amount of resources, you could find yourself losing some as well. Now, central bank storage capacities will be basically exactly as they were, except there will be a new thing where if you don't actually own a castle, let's say you are in, you know, free zone. Like there are some teams out there in Platinum that are new that don't actually own a castle. So their capital has been set in a free land. You will actually be considered a total bank storage level of a 0, but you're still going to be able to store stuff to be able to help build yourselves up. So you'll be able to hold 15 million gold, for example, and then I believe it says 500,000 of the food and the lumber, and then there will be a minimal amount of contributions you can send back and forth. But in order to access that, you know, stuff, you will have to go into that capital, which is the castle in the free zone that you don't actually own, but they made that your capital castle. So that's pretty cool. I think that is really awesome because it's going to help really boost up a lot of these Platinum players so that they can get some things prepared. I mean, there's nothing like having 0 gold and going in and taking a castle and not being able to build anything up. So this is a great way to prepare for that. Now, if you are in Platinum and you are looking to do a castle takeover and you just got Atlas, be very careful, because the amount of troops that you have at this point may not be nearly what you need in order to take that castle. So really get to know Atlas before you go start taking castles from anyone. And always remember that there's a very big chance that behind that team stands a much bigger team in their alliance. And if anybody wants the nitty-gritty details on this upgrade or this update coming to our game coming Wednesday, then be sure to jump over to the website called forums.wardragons.com. You can actually also access this within your game, and all you have to do is log in with your in-game name and email or password. So I'm sorry, not your in-game name, but your in-game's email information and password. So it's a really easy thing to go into and be a part of. And there's a lot of great information they put out. This is a great place where you can speak up. For example, they've got the discussion thread. So if there's something you want to mention or something you want to talk about, this is a great place where you can go talk about that specific update. Now, with that being said, I'm not sure. I believe this is week 6 right now of the Dusk Fall season. So there's nothing special coming out this week when it comes to dragons or riders or anything. And all discounts are officially down for the count. So nothing you're going to find right now is going to be discounted. So this is at this point where you can hoard back if you have already gotten everything that you're wanting to this point, whether it be a discount or be your egg token bonus. This is a great time to start hoarding those sigils because you don't know what's coming next. Unless, of course, you have the ultimate goal to go for example, Pathox. If you want in Pathox, then you could just keep on rolling through. But let's say you don't know yet, you're thinking about it, I don't know, maybe I will, maybe I'll get something else, or maybe I'll go for example, the later on Festive Dragon they release, then this is a great time to start saving back those sigils for that. So just so you know, I would say, I think we got about 2 more weeks before they bring out the next one. So I should say next week we will get some intel on that. Now, that is it for today's video when it comes to all the little chit chat I have for you guys. But there are a lot of things coming this week for everyone. But I really wanted to focus today's video on the changes coming this week with War Dragons and their update. Because I really want everyone to understand that when this update comes, you're going to want to go in and update that. Because you're not going to be able to get those changes in your system if you don't have the update. In fact, there's a lot of times where if you don't update it, you can't even join your fellow players. So if you're planning a war or anything, you're not going to be able to join each other. So be sure to do that. Now, this next thing is the $20 in-game pack. If you're new to my channel, I do a $20 in-game pack giveaway every week here on Talk Dragon Tuesday. And this is actually a prize that is distributed by War Dragons, but I personally pick the winner. And in order for you to go through and win, all you have to do is go to the very bottom of this video, put your in-game name so I know who you are, and then you're going to put a hashtag and you're going to follow it up with a change you would like to see come with this update. You could say hashtag more timers, or hashtag more skins, hashtag anything. So anything that you'd like to see changed is a great place to put that, but make sure you put it in the comments under this video. Now, what I normally do, go through and I literally type out on my iPad everybody's names in that chat room. So if you put your in-game name and the entry for you to possibly win, I start typing them all out in a big list, and then over the weekend I will actually print that up, and right here on this channel I go live stream so that you can see the drawing live, or you can come back and look at it later. But I'll cut up every little name, put it in a bowl, and let you actually watch me draw your name. So this to me seems like the best way to show you that I'm being very fair and honest, and this way, even if you're my friend or you're on my team or whatever, then you can, very confidently know that you can join and not have to worry about anybody else thinking that it was a fixed win. Because I will never, ever do any fixed wins, because that's absolutely not right. So remember, this $20 in-game pack is provided by War Dragons. And yes, like I said, I will randomly draw a name from that bowl here live on my channel. So the winner is picked by me. Once I've chosen the winner, and we've announced it across the live stream, I actually send that winner's information up to a specific helper at the War Dragon Pocket Gems office, and they will distribute the prize for me. Now, I know that there's some people, one specific person that has not got a prize from a past live stream, so I'm going to be getting with them today and see what's going on with that. But if for any reason you find yourself that you have not got a prize, do not contact the help desk. Make sure you contact me so that I can get with them and find out what's going on. Because a lot of times the help desk doesn't really know what's going on with these prizes. It's a whole different spectrum, as this is really a creators faction thing they do to help support us and our channel and all of those that are willing to support us. Now, speaking of supporting us, make sure if you like this channel, you give it a big thumbs up before you leave. And don't forget, if you don't already subscribe, to hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you hit the bell, you will get notifications every time I post a new video. And I'm so excited because I'm almost at that 1,000 marker. So be sure to get this information out there. Now, again, guys, this is the fortification event coming. And if you have castles out there, utilize those castles and make sure that you've got a great even distribution for your teammates so that, you know, nothing's unfair. One of the things you can do is you can divide it up by level, you can divide it up by importance, you can even divide it up by the amount of contribution they do. It's completely up to you because you will be limited in the very beginning. So with that being said, don't forget, if you're new to fortifications, to jump over and check out my Fortifications Event Guide series. And there are some other videos that I have in my series of the Beginner's Guide series that can help you out a lot as well. Anyways, happy hunting.